Good morning and welcome to Friday the 13th. It is
Oh
the
my God.
Friday Grief Chat on our favorite day of humor, grace, and grief. I'm Jill.
I'm Deb, and it is really, there's probably some wind advisories out here. I was like driving into the wind coming this way, and I was like white knuckling it, not because I was scared, but because I had to push into the wind. 60-mile-an-hour winds, and my brother who lives in Wisconsin, and my friends in Michigan, 3 feet of snow
And the
are
tornado
coming.
activity.
We
Illinois
just
had
had,
massive tornado.
oh my gosh. And so I asked Kate about her aunts and in Kankakee and on her dad's side. And apparently, and she calls her Auntie Pooh. Auntie Pooh's bed was had shards of glass because it came through a skylight. I am not making this up. This is about the size of the hail balls. So Auntie Pooh's bed was all over TV, maybe even, I
Oh my
hadn't seen it.
goodness.
Yes,
There
yes,
was one hail ball I saw that had actually distinct large crystals of ice, and
yes,
it was the size of a large man's fist.
yes, softball size. I think
Yeah.
the largest they measured was 5.5 inches. Can you imagine 5.5
No.
inches? And,
No.
and you're having a heat wave.
We are right now sitting at close to 100 today.
Oh my
We're at 75
gosh.
right now, but we'll be in the hundreds for the next 10 days. And
Oh my,
Arizona is at about 104 today.
that is, that's months away for us, but that's really something.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, no, we are not having we went from winter
yes,
to the middle of summer. I
summer.
spent yesterday putting sheets up over my newly planted garden so that
Yes, they don't
little
burn.
cantaloupes and watermelons don't burn their little toes.
Right, right. Oh
Their
my
little tendrils
gosh.
right now. Yeah. Yeah, and we've
Ah,
got a dozen monarch caterpillars on our patio plants, and so I'm having to mist them twice a day because
yes.
they're eating like mad dogs, and they need fluid. Hi Ian, 57 degrees in Italy. I think we both need to be there.
Oh.
Definitely do, because it is just, I mean, I like the warm. I was
Mhm.
ready to have spring for a little while,
Yeah.
and we're not having
Wow.
spring.
Um, I am happy. I haven't checked the water table yet on our side of the creek. Uh, I'm hoping it's up because I would love to be out of a drought. It's supposed to rain some more.
Oh, I
And
hope it does. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
was just talking with Jill how um my friend is in the middle of a whole bunch of health issues, and I had to look up uh, Illinois IDPH, Illinois Department of Public Health Pulse. And we've talked about this, and everybody needs a pulse, POLST. I forget what it stands for, but it's also known as a
Physician's
DNR.
order. It's the physician's order regarding life-sustaining treatment.
That's it.
POLST. It is normally on hot pink paper so that
Mhm.
it can be seen. And you normally put it on the fridge in case someone calls EMS. And then you
Yes.
make sure the doctor, the hospital, and everyone you know has one.
Yeah.
So that if anybody transports you to the hospital, your wishes are known. I'm
Yes.
very sorry. Zora
Exactly.
is coughing today.
Oh. Well, yeah, everybody needs one of these. Everybody, it's just like please, please, if you have long-term care insurance, post that somewhere in your house so
Right.
people can look at it. Call when you're not stressed.
Let's talk about what you should have done, because we also have a family member who's suddenly been diagnosed as being very ill and is
Yeah.
far away, and it's just so much that you have to get done. And I'm very fortunate that he is able to be aware of what needs to be done, and he's able to make his own decisions and to make them clearly. But if you don't talk about these things ahead of time,
I know.
if you don't know what the outcomes are going to be when someone tries to talk you into aggressive care when it's probably not warranted, if you don't know what aggressive care is going to make what will absolutely be end of life look like, whether that means being put on a vent if you have one issue, or being radiated into burns for another. There's all kinds of things. And we're not anti-medical. We're not.
No, I am fully, people say, well, what brought you into nursing? I go, two things. One, money. Because I wasn't even divorced yet. And being a CNA versus being a nurse, well worth it being a nurse, an RN. Right. And then the other part is to give people the best of both worlds when you are informed, right. And I don't know if I said this to you, but a couple days ago, I said to my daughter, do you know what to do when I get sick, or who to call, or how to do? And I started I said, have I taught you all these things? Do you know I have this? Do you know I have that? And I just want to tell you, she said, yes, this, that. And I was like really proud of her. And then the very next day I didn't hear from her. So I said, how you doing? I'm sick as a dog, Mom. And then the next day I brought her ginger ale and crackers. But please, everybody, have a thermometer in your house. Would you please? Would you have some ginger ale?
You need to have a little bit of soup and a thermometer and an O2 sat monitor, which you can get for $10 now.
Yeah.
And you need all the things available, but you also need to have the discussion.
Have it written down.
Right.
And here, I'm going to teach everybody how to have a hard discussion. Okay. I actually saw my eye doctor do this many moons ago. And I went, oh, this isn't good, because I saw her do this.
That look and on the started, face.
Right. Mm-hmm. So here's the look. Take a deep breath, breathe out, and say, I need to talk about something hard. That is the end of the hard part. Then you just go blah, 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 blah. And if your children say, oh, Mom, that's not going to happen, I don't want to talk about it, say, it is going to happen. Or that's talking to your children or to a friend. The next thing, children, talk to your parents. And you go, what's the look? And take a breath in. I need to talk about something hard. What do you want when you're dying? And they're going to go, well, we don't have to talk about that now. And then you go like this. See my face? Yes, we have to talk about it. I want to honor you, and I don't want to spend your money where you don't want it. And I want to spend it in what makes you feel good. So there you go. That's it.
Ian asked us to post a list of things. And so I'm putting in end of life wishes, life insurance info being available, and end of life plan. talk with your doctor, financial decisions that you've made, funeral plans.
Mm-hmm. Where do you want to be buried? I went
Do you want to be
visiting these.
buried?
Who don't you want to be buried with?
Mhm.
Or do you even want to be buried? I mean, do you want, now maybe I shouldn't assume this, but my brother probably wants a green burial, right? And my
Mhm.
other friend wants to be buried, and somebody else wants to be cremated.
Mhm.
And, just because you're married doesn't mean the two of you think alike.
Right. No, absolutely not.
Right.
I'm married to a
Right.
funeral director, and she absolutely does a beautiful job with embalming. I want simple cremation.
Yeah.
It really depends. So Ian, I put up a short list for end of life wishes. That means if you are terminally ill, or if you have a sudden accident, or you have a heart attack and you're in the hospital, what do you want done and what do you not want done? Do you want to be intubated? Do you not want to be intubated? In the United States, most states have something called the PULSE, the physician's order regarding life sustaining treatment. What's important about that is that
Mm-hmm.
it has a doctor's signature on it. So it's a medical order that
And
outweighs everything else.
so when I looked it up generally, not all states,
Right.
at least here, require a doctor's order. So my friend and I were talking, and I'm like, well, let me look up Illinois DNR laws or something. And then I wrote DNR, and then I wrote slash POLST. And that's all you have to do. So people who might be listening in Massachusetts or Missouri or Montana or Minnesota, I'm going with states that begin with M, Michigan, anybody that's listening, you have to put in your state. And then and you can just print it right out, which is what we did. We're going to go over that this afternoon
Mm-hmm.
and take care of that. So,
Yeah. And what's
yeah.
important about the pulse, the ones that have the doctor's order power, is that if someone has a simple end of life plan or a living will, as they're referred to, as part
Mm-hmm.
of, those are in trust documents. And yes, they're
Mm-hmm.
notarized, but they're usually in a big book and they're usually on a shelf somewhere. And lots of times nobody knows where they are in an emergency. And you may change your mind about what you want. And so you need to be clear and you need to think it through. I can't tell you how many times I've seen hospice patients who are in the midst of a terminal illness. And they'll say, but why would I sign a DNR? What happens if I have a heart attack while I have cancer? And the answer is everybody dies from their heart stopping, which is in fact the definition.
Mm-hmm.
But if your heart stops because you have cancer stopping it, resuscitating you isn't going to bring you back for any length of time, and it's not going to be a good experience for you or your family.
So, case in point, a lot of people just want to die in their homes. So, my friend's mother-in-law died. My friend knew she was dead, but because they couldn't, and she looked so peaceful in her bed, she had to call an ambulance. And they had to take her out of bed, put her on the floor, and at least
Attempt
sometimes
resuscitation.
attempt resuscitation. And that is so traumatizing.
I have actually been in the position as a hospice social worker of having to do chest compressions with one of our hospice nurses because we had a patient who absolutely refused to sign any form of DNR. And so
Right.
we walked in and she was absolutely not alive. And we had to do it. Then the fire department arrived and they had to do it. And 35 minutes later, she still wasn't alive. And they finally
Yeah.
called it. But it's unnecessary trauma. And if you've
Mm-hmm.
got family with you, it's unnecessary trauma. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
you want to make your own decision. Of course, you want it to be the one that fits for you. And if you are 26, a DNR is not something that should even be under consideration, but the discussion should be held because people die at all ages.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a reminder of that this morning because of a phone call I had. And if you have not had that discussion, nobody knows. Do you want to be a donor? What do you want? We need to have those discussions so your family is clear.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I posted something on Facebook about mental health. And I said, do you take care of your teeth? Do you brush your teeth? Do you go to the dentist? Some people would say no. And take care of your mental health. Well, this is I think they should call it like death health.
Yes.
Like, I know, what an oxymoron. But really have these discussions.
So that everybody knows. So that if there is that, someone gets hit on a bike.
Yeah.
What do we do? Do we do intubation long enough for family to get there, or is that not something you're comfortable with having happen to you? It really should be a family discussion. It shouldn't be. It doesn't have to be morbid because it's not. Because everybody gets to be born and everybody gets to die, and in between we have humor and grace, and then we have grief, and we can use the humor and the grace to have the discussion.
That's right. And at my grief group the other day, I posed a whole bunch of conversations and conversation starters. But I asked, what was your first introduction to death? Right? Like, did you go to funerals? Did you do this? And the people on farms that worked on farms, whether they had a farm, they had farm animals, whatever, they had much more, once again, the oxymoron here is alive discussions because, the animals died. And so one woman, she said, I had at one time 27 pets. And here she's she's in her early 60s, I think. And she's remembering I had 27 pets. And that include the rabbits, the mice, those were her pets, the cows, the horses, whatever. And then eventually they had Pet Cemetery, right?
Yes.
So
as does any family with pets normally.
Yes, they had real live discussions, and that's important to have.
It's so important for families to know what their loved one wants. It's also important for you to say, I want full pain meds. If you want pain meds, because if you don't say that and the family has someone in their ear saying that if you give someone pain meds, you're going to speed up the process, they need to know where you stand with that.
And really, when you are taking pain meds, I don't think addiction is the problem.
It is not.
People worry, well, I might get addicted. Okay, let me make that face and say, you're gonna die. Addiction will not be a problem. We want you as comfortable as you want to be. I already have and I'm going to print these out too, because I didn't know it was the Illinois Post, and I'll bring them to our doctor or whoever, and they'll sign them for Daryl and I, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to put down, try these meds first. If this doesn't work, then go to here and then go to here. For real.
Hospice nurse Julie is really good with some of that stuff. If you've got family members who need to see something, she sometimes posts memes that are not really her patients, but there's one that she frequently reposts. And my guess is she's doing it because she's had yet another frustrating afternoon or morning where it shows someone lying peacefully with their hands on their chest with a smile on their face. And it says, when your hospice patient's family says they're not afraid of morphine. And it shows a comfortable, happy patient.
Yes.
Because there is such a fear of it. And it's something that's perpetuated, and it's now being perpetuated at the highest levels of government. And it doesn't need to be, in my very not humble opinion. Right? We need to allow people to have a plan for their end of life.
Right.
We have other guests who've talked about that. You should be able to pick your music. You should be able to, and you should, in fact, pick out the clothes you're going to leave the house in, because otherwise your loved ones are going to be scrambling to figure out what's right in a moment if they weren't expecting it. Right?
That's right. That's right.
You're going to be buried or cremated in.
And you are cremated in clothing, by the way.
Yes. You go to the crematorium in an outfit. Do you want to have something special on? My Linda was wearing her angel's outfit.
Yes.
Right? My Casper was wearing a Hawaiian shirt.
That's right.
I'm not sure what I'm going to wear other than it's going to be comfy and soft. Right? And probably have a dog on it. Ian says, no pain, no pain. Right. No pain is right.
That's right. That's right.
We had a hospice doc who advocated adding morphine to Cabernet. So that I think I would go with that. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'll take liquid marijuana for 10, please.
There is Willie's Remedy now.
There's what?
Willie's Remedy.
Is there something like that? That's great.
Yep, there is.
And I am surprised more dispensaries aren't working with, I mean, certainly the science is there to be talking about. I might just start doing that. I almost thought I had a new calling the other day. Like, okay, I need to dispel ignorant myths about hospitals, doctors, and end of life. I mean, that is what we're doing right now. But I am just disgusted with
end of life doesn't need to be scary. It can be safe. And there are families that do not want someone to die at home. There's no problem with that either. If you have family that doesn't want to have the aura of having had someone die in the house, you can arrange to have hospice care in a hospital.
Yes.
You can have full hospice care in the hospital.
Do you know, I had to go through little by little, especially as our bodies get older. And, Daryl's 76. And I said, here's what I want. I don't want you breaking your back trying to lift me to put me on the porta potty or whatever it's called. At commode, I said, if I can't turn and pivot by myself.
Right. Hi, Mary.
Me in a nursing home. Please.
Right. Or make sure someone can get that catheter in. Right. Do the things that make sense.
Yes.
That's where having those discussions, that's where when Ian asked, give me a list, have the discussion with your family members.
Yeah.
Have it every 10 years. Who's capable and around right now? Right.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
every family member can do full care. We had a moment with my mom that caused so much laughter, but in an uh-oh kind of a way, because she went from being okay to in 1 week not being able to even pivot. And trying to get her onto that commode was just such a moment, right?
Yes.
And I was used to doing medical care. My sister's not so much. And it was, I almost fell over laughing because it was like the Three Stooges, right? Plus the Golden Girls all together.
Do you know, in when I worked in long-term care as an aide, actually. So this is, and I had a fairly young body then, and there was a patient, a man, I had to lift in the shower, and I was with another, it happened to be an RN. And, between the soap and the water coming down, we
Slip and
just
slide.
very gently lifted him to the ground. And, I was soaking wet, right? The nurse gets to stay dry, but the CNA, you're the one that's going to get wet. And there I
Right.
was on the ground, and all I could do was laugh. And then the
Hi,
patient
Jenny.
was laughing.
I want to bring up Mary, who is my late
Oh,
wife's
good.
cousin. My husband wanted to die in the hospital, so she made sure that's where he got to be. And
Yeah.
that is important, right? If someone has the ability to make that known, and
Yeah.
it's a position that you're in to be able to make that happen, there's nothing wrong with being at the hospital if that's where they're comfortable, or
Yeah.
that's what you need, or whether it's at home with the window open, or as in Ginny's case, up in the mountains, with the trees and the birds. It's wherever you can be. We
Right.
do that for our pets. We should be able to do that for our loved ones.
Yes. Yeah. I told you what I want. If I could have anything, I want to be either sitting up or laying down. And I want to hear a whole bunch of people laughing and telling stories about me in the other room. And I just want to slip on out from that laughter.
And that is
Yep.
what we did with Linda. She wanted to be in the living room. And so
Yeah.
she was in the living room in our big bay window with the roses blooming outside. It was her favorite place.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a ton of people there, and they were coming and going and laughing and telling jokes. And we watched The Sound of Music that morning, a little bit of it. And she was telling us movie trivia at 8 o'clock in the morning. And by noon, she was gone.
Yeah.
And it was peaceful, but she got to be where she wanted to be with the dog and the cat, kids, and all of that. That's how it should be.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I love that. I love that. Wow. Well, I hope everybody liked the show today.
Jenny's comment. Jenny says, yes, celebrate her. That's exactly right.
Oh,
I
wow.
really want my going out to be like dad picking you up from the couch and carrying you to bed, where you can hear all the noises of the house, and you're secure, and all the people are there, and you're just going to go tucked in, but forever.
Yeah.
I think that's my conjecture of how it should be.
Mm-hmm. And always, you find out a diagnosis, get to hospice as fast as you can. They have good drugs.
They
That's
do,
what you
and
want.
they know what they're doing. And they have nurses everywhere are wonderful, but hospice nurses, those people are independent. They do all the things, and then they call the doctor and say, so this is what I've changed. Just want you to know, right? And this is what we're doing. So he or she can write it down and sign off on it because it's already done. And they know all the tricks, and they know how to manage all the symptoms, and they make potions that go on your wrist for nausea that are not in any book, and they know what they're doing.
They know.
So find your people, right? But make sure that
your
you wish
people
known. Right down to the music. You get to listen to what you want to listen to. The music you want to listen to, and also who do you not want with you. Make sure that's known too.
Yes. I have another friend. I said, do you want so-and-so? And they said, no, tell them after I'm gone.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Absolutely.
yes. Yes.
It's been a busy Friday the 13th, my friend.
It has.
A good
And
one.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I have my very own black cat here. Um, his name is Ollie. And so I think it's time to go in and pet him.
And I'm going to run to the office because I got a full day of clients all of a sudden. Usually
Oh,
I don't have
my.
clients on Fridays, and all of a sudden everyone wants therapy on Friday. I do not understand it, but the therapist aims to please.
That's
Bye,
right.
everybody. Have a good
Bye,
Friday the 13th
everyone.
and a good weekend wherever you are. Be safe.
See you next week.